So I want to start off this Countertop's very special edition of Countertop Conversations with two of my cousins, Yianni and Elias from Katsis Brothers Contracting. You can find them at katsisbrothers.ca and social media handle at Katsis Brothers. How you guys doing?
Good, Louie. Thanks for having us.
Nice to see you guys all again.
Yeah, very, very special episode. I was really looking forward to this. It's a culmination of a partnership that started in Greece many decades ago with our fathers.
Yeah. I think it was late 70s.
Yeah, our
early
father.
60s, early 60s. I think they came when they first came.
I think I don't know if it was early 60s. I think it was late 60s that our Uncle Jimmy came here. And then it was my father in also the late 60s. I think your dad came in 70.
69.
69. Okay.
Yeah.
And in 1973, Olympic Kitchens was founded by our fathers, your father, Peter, my father, George, and also their brother, our Uncle Jimmy. They brought with them, again, all that ethic, work ethic, and were basically game to do anything. I think they were doing millwork. They were doing renovations. They worked for a kitchen company, New World Kitchens, was it?
Yeah. New World Kitchens. They were doing piecework at the time.
Yeah, they were assembling kitchens and doing just about anything that needed to be done. I mean, they're immigrants. They didn't have a mastery of the language. So in 1973, they founded Olympic Kitchens. At the time, Olympic Kitchens did a bit of millwork, also did renovations. Again, they were doing whatever they could. They were trying to kind of get the kitchen business going, but at the time, it just wasn't at the same industry as it was today. And it was very hard for them to get off the ground. And in 1976, they split off. And this is kind of where we are today. Your father went into kind of the renovation area, and my father and Uncle Jimmy went more into the millwork and cabinetry. And your father has always been devoted and very much involved in renovations and custom home building since the 70s.
Since the 70s, in the early 70s, or sorry, late 70s, he was doing a lot of renovations, a lot of the smaller stuff. 1980, I think he built his own home, his first home. And then throughout the 80s, he was doing renovations and building homes for himself. Throughout the 80s up until the early 90s, as we started growing up, we slowly joined him.
Yeah, what was that like? How did that evolve? Were you working weekends like me and on sites, or how did that unfold?
My first experience, true story, I was 5 years old, and he took us on a Saturday, and there was a floor register. So he took a piece of wood and a nail. He's like, nail down this wood to cover the floor register so no one steps in it. And he rewarded me with a sprinkled donut. Yanni got a sprinkle. My brother got a sprinkled donut. So that was our first
Hawaiian donuts were my favorite back then.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, as we got older, 10, 11, 12, Saturdays, no school, you take us maybe just to get out of the house, see some stuff, give an extra hand, bring a tool.
So you guys picked up a hammer at age 5 and drove in your first nail.
Yeah,
Sort of.
We did something with that. I don't know if it was proper, but the one thing I want to add is the fact that since we can remember 5, 6 years old, I remember going Saturdays to the old shop at Olympic at Parnell. I think from then we were always kind of embroiled in the construction, the millwork, the cabinetry.
So sometimes my dad would have to go cut some large pieces or whatever, and he'd go down to Olympic on a Saturday and cut some pieces of wood. And the spray booth, it would have a very distinct smell.
That's right, yeah.
Varnish station.
Yes, in 1976, we did not have the safety standards we had today, that's for sure.
Yeah. A lot of things.
But I know what you mean. I mean, the shop was always this kind of magical place where always something different was happening. There's a lot of it was almost like a clubhouse where you kind of connect with the older guys and even the workers that were there. And this was our old facility on Parnell, as you mentioned, Birchmount and Danforth Road. We're in a much bigger facility now, but it was a very, very special place, that Parnell. What did you enjoy most, and what do you enjoy most about what you do today?
Personally, I love seeing the product, the high quality product that we give the client at the end of the day, and having their expression of exceeding their expectation and their happiness with everything from service to the quality of materials that we use to the execution of putting everything together, down to the finest of details. Just, you know, exceeding those expectations that we have in for our clients, makes it all worthwhile.
And you can see some examples. I'm just scrolling through here of some of your work and some of your projects. And yeah, it's really all about the details. You know, I also notice some of the amazing tile work you guys do, really kind of ambitious tile projects that, you know, particularly I love this one here with the octagonal tile at the front entrance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that took how long to do?
Hours and lots of planning, to be honest with you, because the octagonal tiles, they're not all the same sizes. So, you know, you really have to work there. And it's those kind of examples that, you know, we enjoy having those intricate projects and challenges. And the great thing with tile is that, you know, it's not like, you know, a baseboard where you might cut a little bit bigger and you could put a little bit of DAP and you paint it. With tiles, you got to be dead on in order to give a beautiful product. And I think we definitely excel in those kind of categories.
Yeah, I've seen some of that tile work, and it's just really impressive. And I know it impresses the clients. And, you know, it's not something, you know, it's not something a lot of contractors would want to take on, to be honest. You know, it's complex, it's risky, it takes time. You know, how do you cost it? How do you budget the cost for it? But you've done some amazing tile work. So I would say the same to you, Elia. What do you love most about what you do?
You go into a project and you don't know what to expect. So you talk to the client. I enjoy figuring out what they want. They could bring up some designs, for example, those tires, you know, if somebody from an outsider looking in, it could be very scary to enter a project and try to figure that out. Mm-hmm. But I think what I really like is having to raise the challenges, because a lot of times we enter situations where we could just picture the entire project. We have so much experience at this point where it's like everything just is very
flows.
It just flows. It's like we know the whole project before we actually start, which is actually something my father mentioned to us growing up. He's like, a master, you can walk in and see the whole project before he actually starts. Every once in a while, there are problems or designs elements that are not standard. And that's when you're sort of pushed to use all your experience, all your knowledge, all material knowledge to try to solve a problem or try to make something work. And I think that when I hit those elements, even though it's sometimes, you know, high stress or it takes a little time to focus on it to figure it out, I like those moments where you sort of got to be pushed an extra further.
You know, we put together recently for this talk 5 key ways to ensure your kitchen renovation goes smoothly. Number 1 is finding the right partners.
Kitchens that our fathers or my uncles were making in the 70s and 80s are not the same kitchens. Processes have changed. Materials have changed. There's a lot more. There's a lot better. And they need more time to assemble. Same thing with construction. It's not that simple anymore. There's different types of tiles. There's different types of substrate materials that you could use. Electrical code continuously changes every 5 years or so.
It seems every 5 weeks at some time.
Sometimes yes, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you're doing with a lot of older homes, you're dealing with past construction, which can be very tricky. So it's very important to have somebody with experience.
The idea is to get someone who's experienced and who has the knowledge of, like my brother said, like Elias said, of the materials, of the processes. Aside from the fact that Katsis Brothers Contracting, we have years of experience, we also have the added benefit of seeing how the process of Olympic Kitchens have evolved and new technologies that they implement on a monthly and a daily basis. If a client was to hire Olympic Kitchens and Katsis Brothers gets recommended, we know exactly step by step what Olympics processes are, and we have that experience to make that even more smooth. And that's what I think is hire the right people that know and have over the years. I mean, we've done hundreds of kitchens together, and we have that experience no matter what, that we know what a kitchen needs, what the issues that could possibly arise. And that, I think, is a huge, and it's a very difficult job for a client, because everybody says it, but it's proof is in the pudding of the execution, right?
For sure. So in a nutshell, finding the right partners for clients is really finding the right team members. Every project, kitchen renovation, requires a contractor, requires a cabinet supplier, sometimes an interior designer, and getting the right team together, I think, makes everything run smoothly. And the added benefit of the team having worked together in the past, whether it's us together or someone else you worked with, it really pays off in the end to ensure the project runs smoothly. There's less, disappointment. Everyone kind of understands what the next person's move is, which I think is great. And number two, which I think is the most important, is a concise plan.
It's always great to have a final design in place. With the kitchens, obviously, you guys need to know what you're designing. There's different elements, different handles. Knowing what kind of finishes you want is very important, because it also helps us prep for the project. Especially
when it comes to products now with the growing demand and supply chain issues. You don't want to be doing a master bathroom and then not have the tile for the floor available for months after your expected completion.
All our clients I've ordered appliances, for example, and some of the appliances are back ordered 3 months still, even though they ordered them a couple months ago.
Huge problem right now. Yeah.
And we're at the point where countertops are going to be on, and we can't proceed because the appliances are not in it.
Well, it's interesting. I was actually having a conversation with a client yesterday. The kind of consensus that they're getting is, because of there's so many delays and whatnot, it's a lot of people are settling because they're just getting what they could get, because the countertop, for example, that they want is 6 months out. So, and that's why I think, one of the important things when you're doing a kitchen renovation is you gotta plan, and because you're spending a lot of money, you're putting a lot of effort into it, you want to get the end product of what you want. You don't want to settle when you're doing that kind of a project, and planning is a huge part of it, especially nowadays.
You want to do the planning before you guys start. You don't want to be hired for a job, start ripping out, and then planning is still occurring. That's just going to set delays. So moving to number 3 is setting expectations. So this, I think, is a big one as well. Yianni, what do you think about this?
You got to be flexible with timelines, especially nowadays in the environment that we are. But you're also, another thing that your expectation is, you don't expect a Ferrari for a Honda budget. You know what I mean? It's, my neighbor did it for X amount, but that's not realistic. Clients have to be realistic in terms of what quality costs. Quality comes at a price. I think budget is definitely a huge expectation that people have to be realistic about.
Mhm. And usually set budgets early on, obviously, before you start the project. So that's part of the planning, setting the expectations on cost. And then there's also timeframes. You know, how long is the project going to take? What are the expectations? How long is someone going to be out of their home?
The best is to have a plan in place so that we don't run into any other delays to keep people inconvenienced as much as possible.
The least amount of cost time. Yeah.
As
Least
possible.
amount,
We don't
yeah.
want to be-
Yeah.
We're not giving more inconvenience. That's
And
right.
then 5 would be communication.
Yes.
And what do you have to say about that?
Communication is key. And as a contractor, we come into a house and the client has to let us know what their designs are, what they're feeling, what are their concerns, and what they ultimately want to do. And it's almost like a back and forth. What are key important things to you? What are secondary? And can't be afraid to hold some of your questions back, of fear of asking stupid questions or dumb questions. Every house is different and every project's different. So it's really important for us to get a feeling of what the client needs so we can address them.
Communication between the contractor and the cabinet supplier is monumental. If their timelines are off and their communication is off, there's been many situations where in the industry where you hear, hey, the contractor's ready, but the cabinets are not gonna be ready for another 2 weeks. And the client goes to their house and they see zero work, zero production, zero things happening for 2 weeks. And they're out of their kitchen and out of their home for so long, that just adds another level of frustration. And you can't get into a situation where the contractor's like, oh, okay, you found the kitchen installer or the kitchen supply company, you deal with them. It doesn't really work like that sometimes. Everybody speaks two different languages, and a contractor and a cabinet supplier, they speak a different language than the client does, right? So and come back to your point, you hire a team, and if the team doesn't work together, the team doesn't win.
So to recap, 5 key things to consider for a kitchen renovation to go smoothly is find the right partners is 1. Number 2, concise plan. 3, setting expectations. 4, being prepared for the unexpected. And 5, communication. And I think a big point is clients really have to understand there are no dumb questions. Clients are very green when it comes to the language we speak, and they have to be bold and ask questions. There are no dumb questions.
To spew some Peter Katz's knowledge, he said there's
Your father.
My father, that's right, my father. There's 3 people in a kitchen renovation. There's a homeowner, there's a contractor, and there's a kitchen. And all 3 have to work together so that the renovation works properly.
Yeah, and sometimes 4, interior designer, which
Correct.
Yes, definitely.
we enjoy working with and we encourage, because I think a big distinction to make is when it comes to cabinetry, we design and we guide the clients in that front. When it comes to contracting, you guys have experience, you add your perspective, but sometimes clients need to have their hand held to show them what color of tile works with this and that and the other thing, what wall color, what chandelier to use. These are items that clients can't rely on you to pick and source and help them through. You guys are busy doing other things.
Yeah.
So interior designers, I think, are a huge part of the project.
Definitely. We love our designers. We love working with them.
We do.
And they love us. I have to say.
Yes, of course they do. Of course they do. So let's talk about Green Meadows, one of the latest projects we completed together. So I'm going to throw up some pictures here. In terms of some context, this is a project we did together. Some clients came to us looking for cabinetry. We consulted on the design, walked through the process, had a very rough layout in place, got to the stage where they were comfortable to proceed with us, and they needed a contractor, and we brought you guys in. And I think this is a good example of our collaborative efforts. In this case, there was no interior designer involved, but the client was very clear on some of the things they wanted and was able to source a lot of the items themselves, like lights and tile and that sort of thing. So this is the kitchen we did. I'll just show a few pictures. You can see this, once again, some amazing tile work here, you know, really fine detail. I mean, if I zoom in here, I mean, that's a really thin line of tile there, Yianni. That's pretty impressive.
That was tiresome, let me tell you.
But that's a lot of work. I remember walking into the site and you were there, and the client was there, and you were working away with the backsplash, and she was just so in awe. She was just thrilled with what was going on. And that was really the last piece of the puzzle for this job. So good job on that.
A lot of times, you know, clients are not aware that, you know, contractor comes in, he demos, he preps, he prepares kitchen. The kitchen gets installed after the fact, then the countertops. And a lot of times contractors come back and we do the, you know, the backsplashes, some electrical finishes. So we're always intertwined, working in and out of each other. Definitely.
Yeah, we definitely collaborate on this, from, you know, positioning of the hanging lights over the island, the large chandelier over the table was, we had a lot of discussions around to make sure there was a proper clearance from the table to the island. How was your experience working with us on this?
You know, Olympic does a great job of coming in once the demolition is done and measuring kitchens, giving dead centers, for example, the stove, the hood fan, and that really does, you know, you have to plan before in order to execute later. So that was completely seamless. I believe we had this ready on the Monday. You guys were delivering and installing appliances, and we had it ready for you guys on the Friday. Not that there was a delay, but we were able to time it so perfect that there was no overlap of us or our trades and you guys, and there was a fluid process for the clients to see. That backsplash took, with all the small cuts, it took about 3.5 days with the grouting.
Wow. And how about the entire project? From, you know, you contractors, I say, are the quarterbacks of the project. You guys really lead the charge. You're in there the most. You know, for this project, we were in there for, you know, 3 days installing cabinetry, and then the countertops a few weeks later. But you guys are there longer. So from start to finish, and let's be clear, this was a isolated kitchen renovation. You change the floors, cabinetry, the lighting, pot lights, a few things like that. It's not a whole home renovation, just the kitchen. What was the from start to completion, what was the time frame?
I want to say 30 to 35 working days. We also had a laundry room that we did there that we had to relocate.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we did the laundry room. I don't have pictures of that. But yes.
We had the laundry room, and there was, we don't have pictures, you're right. But
it was a very narrow space, hard to take.
There was a little tricky because the clients wanted to have their washer and dryer stackable. And we had to run all the piping in a cabinet that was about 9 inches wide.
The running joke was send me in to stick the, the exhaust.
So
I think that's what we did.
For anybody that doesn't know Elias, so anybody that hasn't met us in person, I'm tall, I'm about 6 foot and slender. My brother is about 5'7", shorter, but he's the older one.
5'6".
So we squeeze him into the smaller spaces, but
that was a tricky connection.
I remember we did that. So we had to relocate. We had to work with that kind of issue of, you know, making a quality finished product with a nice laundry box in the cabinet and have it finished there. But all in all, we took about 35 days with completion, with all the finicky stuff and all the small final details which matter the most. The craziest thing is dust has a way of getting in the smallest areas. So we're essentially if anybody's seen the show, we're dextering off our work area. Plastic, we're sealing it off. We're making zipper doorways, you know, because we don't want dust to go throughout the entire person's house, because it gets irritating, right? So,
and let's not forget, in the face of a pandemic, those sealed envelopes you create also keep homeowners safe.
definitely.
You have
Definitely.
trades and workers
Very
in there,
important.
so it's pays off in spades, even though it takes some time.
Yeah.
But I think this project is also a good example of how, you know, based on the 5 key ways your kitchen renovation goes smoothly, I think this hit every single one. We had great communication, we had a concise plan, we set the expectations with the clients. But I want to say that, you know, a 35-day completion for a project, that's when everything, all the ducks fall in a row and you have the right team together, you can make something like that happen. I would say it's at the quicker end of things. You know,
Yeah.
I think an average renovation for a project like this might be 60 days, 50 days. You know, it just so happened that, you know, we have that experience working together and we can make things happen a little faster, even though, let's be clear, speed isn't our focus. We're not focused on speed. We don't have a clock ticking that we need to be out of there. We want to make sure the project's done properly, done right. And you would have spent, without a penny more to the client, 42 days on the job, if you had to.
Correct.
Right? That's just how it goes. But yeah, a great project, really. The clients were thrilled. These are the type of projects we get referrals to their friends, their family. And I think, you know, clients appreciate, I know these clients appreciated the efforts we all put into the project, and ensuring that it went smoothly for them and the end result was perfect. I remember going back to adjust a few cabinet doors that were rubbing a little bit, and had a nice conversation with the client, and they were just thrilled. You know, the kitchen they had was dated. The home is a beautiful home, but it was time to update the kitchen, and I think we gave them a kitchen that fits perfectly into their home. Anything else you want to add?
Actually, I did want to add something.
Yes.
A little bit of an interesting fact. So obviously we touched on that we're cousins. My when I believe it was grade 7 or 8, take your kids to work day, I went with Louie on a few sales calls, and I shadowed him that day. I remember that. It was great. We went to about 5-6 clients, and I learned a few sales techniques from Louie. It was great.
How old are you then? How old was I?
Oh my God. I must have been what? I must have been 13, 14.
Wow. And how old are you now?
I'm 35.
35. So 10 years. So I would have been like 24. That's almost pretty much when a few years into starting.
Yeah. That was funny. And
That was
and you followed in the footsteps of our parents, and you fed me a donut that day.
Oh, the Hawaiian.
Yeah.
And bought him a donut on top of it.
I think, am I right? Did I take you to Swiss Chalet for lunch?
No, that was me.
No,
That
you
was
took
you.
my brother. You took my brother to Chalet. I got the donut.
You got the donut.
So
Amazing.
no, it's great. It was that was an interesting thing though. That
You guys are doing awesome work. Keep it up. If anyone wants to check the Katsis brothers out, you can find them at katsisbrothers.ca and Instagram handle @KatsisBrothers. Keep up the great work, guys, and looking forward to seeing you on the next project.
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you. Thank
All right.
you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.